Hi, welcome to Tales from the Camper. I'm Jason.
Hi, I'm Susie.
We'll be talking to lots of interesting people on our travels and covering lots of different subjects.
Yeah, and some of those might be a little bit controversial.
Just a little bit.
We're looking for people with a tale to tell. So if you're in the south of England somewhere, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you.
So with no further ado, let's get on with the show. How you doing, Dave? All right, it's good to see you. How's it going? All right? Excellent. Right.
Just go a little bit.
Yeah, shall we go and do this?
Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. And the opulence of your camper van.
Yes, very nice for you to come and spend some time with us. So, Dave, you're in the news.
Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth. Yes, I am in the news.
Yeah. So you've had quite an unusual life, really, haven't you?
You could say that, yeah.
You know.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. So basically, could you sort of tell us how you first got into what you're going to tell us about, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, how I first got into it was I went to a festival, my first ever festival actually,
Okay.
kind of gathering in North Wales, and they were talking about various things, and this woman, Sylvia Chandler, was talking about urine therapy.
Yeah.
She was talking about a few other things, but that was the big topic.
Okay.
We all knew that that's what she was going to talk about. So she started off with a few other things like oil pulling and hydrogen peroxide, and I'd actually done both of those. So I was kind of, with her up until that point. And then she's going to talk about urine therapy, and we were like, okay, this is going to be good. And she did a very good talk.
Okay.
And she also had a friend of hers there, a guy called Flo, who had cured his asthma with it.
Oh, wow.
Now I suffered really badly with asthma, so when he started talking, my ears pricked up, and wow.
Is that the same guy that was the Embarrassing Bodies guy that was on that programme? Was that the same guy?
Not Embarrassing Bodies, but he was on.
I know he did a video where there was.
That was him. Yes.
Yeah.
It was the health freaks. He appeared on that, and they just kind of ignored him.
Yeah.
But,
still called him an asthma sufferer, even though he didn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
So yeah, he was with Sylvia.
Yeah.
He gave his testimony, and it was like, wow, it sounds great. So we're going to have to try it. And so the next day I tried it, and so did my friends.
Yeah.
And we all saw some amazing results.
Brilliant.
Mm.
We all saw some amazing results.
Well, yeah, there was 4 of us.
Wow.
5 of us. Yeah, it's a lot strange story, but 5 of us went in there.
Okay.
All 5 of us had the same attitude that, well, this is going to be a bit dodgy.
This is too weird. Yeah.
But we all came out thinking, wow, this is amazing. We're going to have to try it.
Yeah.
My friend Andy, he had anxiety, depression, anger issues. Within a week, his anxiety disappeared. Within a month, He went to his therapist he'd been going to for 10 years and said, I don't need to go anymore.
Wow.
He left his job, he lives in Spain now, and he found his passion, which is sewing.
Really?
And now he's got his own fashion line coming out.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, that's amazing.
You know, his life just
Yeah.
turned around. His sister was in an abusive relationship with a local gangster, and she'd been with him and she was too scared to do anything. After a while on urine therapy, she got the courage, she left the guy, and started a group for women in the same sort of situation.
Yeah.
My girlfriend at the time was well, she was kind of stuck in her life. She was in a job she didn't really want to be doing.
Yeah.
She had a mortgage and in the house, and she didn't really want to be there.
Okay.
She really wanted to travel and things like that. Well, now she left her job. She's rented out a house and she's travelling around all over the place. So
Wow.
you know, it
amazing.
just gave her gives you a kick up the bum, really,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, just allows you to be you.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's finding your authenticity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, from very early days, we're taught that if we're not a certain way, then there's something wrong with us, aren't we?
And that certain way is usually impossible to attain.
Absolutely.
It's like the trying to be like one of the women out of those magazines, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't know that they're photoshopped so their legs are longer and their
No,
necks are
that's
longer, and
right. The
you know.
eyes are bigger,
Yeah.
so they
So
look like aliens.
They're aliens.
Yeah.
It's funny that somebody actually took one of those pictures of one of those Vogue models,
Okay.
and then straightened them out as if they were standing up, and they looked totally alien.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
mad,
so
isn't
yeah,
it?
they try and make you want to be, and it's not just women, it's blokes as well. You know, we grew up on cartoons like He-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's-
You know.
Yeah,
So
it's weird,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's the same thing. We're all getting the same programming.
Yeah,
And if you don't know that's what's going on, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
definitely.
But then the point of this society is that you have to be miserable,
Yeah.
because it doesn't work unless you're
No,
miserable.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
you've got to
No,
be
you wouldn't go to
unhappy.
work, would
You wouldn't
you?
go and work. You wouldn't buy stuff because most of the stuff you buy is to make you feel.
Well, as it's
feel
a
better.
fill a
better,
hole,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, and eating.
yeah.
You know, we're all guilty. Well, you're not now, but we're all guilty of overeating, over-consuming. Everything's, you know, is the opposite to how we actually are, isn't it?
What's the reason why you end up overeating? Is because when you're a child,
Yeah.
whenever you get upset about something, somebody goes, "Oh, have this."
Yeah,
have
that's
these,
right.
have
Have
that."
some sweets.
That's
Oh,
it.
look,
That'll
I
make
made
you
you a
feel better.
cake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
then you associate that with feeling
Yeah.
bad, so
That's-
you end up eating
Yeah.
comfort eating to make yourself
So,
feel better.
so your diet these days, what does it exist of, Dave?
Usually a piece of fruit a day. I haven't had anything today so
Right.
far. Usually a piece of fruit. Sometimes I've not been, you know, amazingly sort of, you know, rigorous about this. I have some plate of chips and a small portion of chips at the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a small portion of chips, maybe a couple of times a week because I
Yeah.
quite like them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get these lentil chips and some salsa and that's. But mainly it's fruit, just a piece of fruit.
So you don't really generally have a meal. It's
I
just,
haven't had a
you just
meal.
kind of pick up bits and pieces
Yeah.
during the day, or
Well, no. Usually I have one thing.
yeah.
And it's usually fruit. And if I haven't got any fruit, then sometimes I'll get, you know, that small portion of chips. Sometimes I'll get some these lentil chips and dip.
Yeah.
Some hummus maybe sometimes. But I've not had a meal now for about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You know, don't need it.
Well, I was saying earlier, your skin looks amazing.
Thank you.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, doesn't look his age, does he?
No.
Well, I mean, this isn't 54-year-old skin.
No.
You
No,
know?
it isn't.
It, you know, 5 years ago, yeah, it certainly looked.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
It certainly looked like it was 55, 56-year-old skin, even though I was like 49 at the time, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well, Very interesting talk on the radio you had the other night on the BBC radio. Was it Drive Time?
Drive Time, yeah.
Yeah, interesting doctor on there. Even though there was the living proof of somebody that's doing this and is obviously perfectly healthy through doing it, rather than addressing the evidence there that we can all see, she'd rather go back to the textbook and tell you that it's ridiculous and it's just a placebo. You know, I mean, surely, you know, anybody that was a real doctor or scientist would think, hang on a minute, should we get him in and maybe do some tests on him, just check that you know, he's being real about his diet, and you know, and do a proper scientific study on it. But I mean, obviously, you know,
if you're selling something and a competitor has got a superior product out there, yeah,
that's free.
that's free, yeah. Now, would you go and say, oh, that is a great product, you know,
No,
everyone should be...
so-
No, you wouldn't.
No.
You'll defend your livelihood to your last breath, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
Which is what they're doing.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, when I first got into the studio, the host basically shook my hand and said, you know I'm going to be negative about this, don't you? I said, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. So we started talking. It was a little bit negative, not too bad. But when the doctor came on, she triggered him with something, and he ended up on my side.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
so-
he's
yeah,
just
so
saying, well,
we
why don't you
listened to
just
it.
get him in and, you
Yeah.
know, give him a glass of water and sort of like say,
So
there you
this
go,
has
that's
got
all
all
you
the
need.
magical healing properties you'll ever need. I won't need to see you again.
That's what he said. But
Yeah.
he was, you know, he was going to go for that normal sort of 2 against 1 thing, you know, the
Yeah.
doctor and him against me. But he ended up arguing for me, you know.
Well, he could see the common sense in it, couldn't he,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know,
Yeah.
and he would be a fool to disagree, wouldn't he, you know. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Just like, you know, you get hypersensitive to things because your body's clean, and now anything that happens, you get sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Well, I got sensitive to this stuff that was just in the air. You could,
Yeah.
you know, you walk in the house, you smell it straight away. And breathing it in, I started to wheeze and stuff, and I was
wow.
coughing, and but then I'd go outside, and it would clear.
It's fine, yeah.
Yeah. So I was working in the house and all day, and I was kind of progressively getting worse, and I was too busy to just step out. And my sister came in, and I was like wheezing and stuff, and she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to take you to the doctors." And I said, "No, I can just go outside. It'll be all right." She goes, "No, this is bad. It sounds bad. You're gonna have to go." So she took me to the hospital.
Oh,
The
really?
hospital, yeah. It was I think it was a doctor's surgery, but it was like a bigger one. And I thought this would be interesting for her to see this.
Okay.
So, you know, I sat there waiting. The doctor came out, and he was like, "Okay, you've got asthma." I said, "Well, actually, I don't. It's because, you know, it's because of this stuff." And now I'm out. I'm like 90% better here.
Yeah.
He goes, no, you always got asthma. You can't ever cure asthma. No. So you've got high blood pressure. And I said, well, could it be because I was having difficulty breathing?
might have something to do with it.
Yeah, my heart was
Yeah, that
working
could
hard
be
at the
it.
time. No, you've got high blood pressure. I'm like, okay. So we're going to give you this. I'm going to give you this shot. You're going to have these steroids. You've got to have an inhaler. You've got to have this and that. He would have given me about 5 or 6 different things, just because he also said I had a chest infection, so I got to have antibiotics. And literally, my sister was like amazed that, you know, this guy was trying to load me with this stuff, this crap. So literally, I took it, walked out, and dumped it.
Yeah.
But you know, it was just crazy. She had to see it because she still believed in the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, now that she saw it, she was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I've tried it myself, obviously, you know, we've talked a lot, and if ever I have a reaction to food or anything, hay fever or anything, if you just put a few drops under your tongue, after a minute or so, isn't it? Is it a few seconds?
When you get the first symptoms, you wait a few seconds and collect it.
And just hold it under your tongue. And most people I say this to are completely grossed out by it, but I can actually say that it cures it. It does cure it.
Well,
Takes it away.
I mean, some other stories of people we know. Well, my stepson.
Yeah.
Well, I was only speaking to him last night. Sam was meeting up with you today, and he's had a like a cyst on his eyelid.
It's a chalazion.
Like a blocked pore, and it's been there for months, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He's been to the doctor. They say, oh, there's not really a lot we can do, but try this cream on it and that cream. So we said to him, well, try some of your own wee. He looked at one of your videos, the one you did with what's his name?
Andrew Northman.
That's him. Yeah, he had a look at that, and so last night we were just talking about it, and he says, look at my eye, and the thing's completely gone. And I said, he said, I've just been putting my wee on it, and I said, what? I said, how long did it take? He said, well, probably a couple of weeks. He says he's putting it on there 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And
it is.
there you go.
Yeah.
This is so simple. It's your own body healing itself.
Yeah. Which is what we all need, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're something like that. It's like getting the good stuff in your body to the outside of you for use. Yeah, I mean, it's like an amazing system. You know.
Yeah.
It's like if I had to design something like I'd design that in there. Yeah. If I've got all this good stuff running around inside me, which I want to keep in there, well, I'll use the excess for the outside.
It's a win-win, really.
It is. So I think it's a very, very good design.
And another story though, I won't mention the person's name because I know he or she would want to talk about it. I was talking about Christmas presents with this particular person. She said, I would like this cream because she'd always had really dry, dermatitis on her hands, was cracking and was to the point where they'd started to bleed, really sore. And she said, I need this Ballium cream. She said, it's got urea in it. And I said, well, that comes from urine. I said, well, look, I said, I'll tell you what. I said, can we do a bit of an experiment here? We're saying this was around about November time, late November. I said, well, look, why don't you just collect some of your urine first thing in the morning, wash your hands with it. I said, don't worry, I'll get you your cream. You've got your cream, don't worry. But until you get that, just give it a go. So she, didn't mention it again. Come Boxing Day, and I'm giving her this gift, and I said, she said, it's my cream. I said, yeah. I said, well, did you try that? She said, well, yeah, I did, but don't tell anyone. I said, well, hang on a minute. She said, they're a lot better actually. So there you go. I mean.
Yeah. Do like happy endings, don't we?
That's 2 people that have had a problem that I've mentioned it to, and they've just had the courage to think, oh well, I'm gonna get over the taboo of doing this, and just kind of just go ahead and do it, and to positive results.
Well, we're taught that it's a waste product, aren't we? And now it's a waste if you don't do it, isn't it, really?
As I've said a couple of times, I resent
Yeah.
weighing it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Because it's like so valuable. Liquid
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah, it is. So do you think, when you go to these stately homes and things, there's always a little boy peeing into a like a fountain thing. Do you think there's something in that?
I think that's a little hint.
Yeah.
There's a bit of symbolism, symbolism
Yeah.
there, isn't it?
Yes.
The fountain of youth and the little boy peeing into it.
Absolutely, and I think it is a fountain of youth. Not only because of what it does, I don't want to say medically, but what it does to you, but it also steers you away from eating too much, and I think eating is one of the biggest things to make you, old, aged, and more decrepit. The more you eat, the less energy you have.
Yeah.
And you kind of start going downhill.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Because if you eat a big meal, you can't really do much.
Well, basically, all your energy is just put into just
processing
just digesting it.
Yeah. So, I mean, could that be sort of hate to say the word conspiracy, but it's more truth stuff, isn't it, that we're into? You know, could that be part of the plan?
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
They want us to be obese, you know, useless eaters.
Yeah.
They want to be able to. What they do is they set the things up so that you can't not be obese. For instance,
Yeah.
they put sugar in everything. They put lard in everything.
Yeah.
And say, here you go. And you go, oh, thanks a lot. And you eat it, and you get over. And they go, look at you. Look how fat you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because when you go into the supermarkets, I expect most of you have noticed this, that everything that is bad for you, you know, full of sugar, etc., is all really cheap. You can have great big slabs of chocolate for £1, but if you want something,
All
some
lined
organic
up, all
apples,
lined up there as you're queuing
you know,
up, isn't it? Yeah.
it's twice, 3 times the price of that. So, you know, there's definitely something in that.
Yeah, did you
Beef
not
and
notice?
crap.
Did you not notice that? I remember before I left this country to go to America, you know, it was '96. One small bar of chocolate was £1. It was pretty much £1.
Okay.
And now you can get big, you know,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
all nice and cheap. Here, have some, have some
yeah.
more, have some
Yeah.
more. Look how fat they are.
Yeah, I know. Look how unhealthy they are. We're going to have to open clinics to deal with
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
But that's the way they operate. It's
Yeah.
You know, they
And
put it
then,
out there.
and I think also, like, because we got rid of our television, or we haven't watched it for a couple of years now, have we?
No, it was just. Well, really, it just sat there for Hayden, didn't it? Really,
Yeah,
really
that's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, where was I going with that? Yeah. So you know, all of the negativity that's coming from the television, like the news and adverts and stuff like that, I think that makes us depressed if we're sitting down in the evening watching television, and then we think, I fancy something to eat. Have we got anything nice in the cupboard? That's what we used to do, didn't we? God, I feel a bit peckish, but you're not hungry. You're feeding that depression, that sadness.
There's
from what?
many other
Yeah.
factors, like you know, whether you know it or not, or like it or not, you're being affected by the advertising as well.
Yes.
So you might have seen, you know, a burger on an advert
Yes.
20 minutes ago,
Right.
and now you're feeling, well, you know what, I fancy something.
I
What do I
fancy something
you know?
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, it's insidious. When they had the old televisions,
Yes.
the cathode ray tube type,
Yeah.
you could, if you aimed a camera at the screen, you'd see these black bars.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've seen
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's happening all the time. When you're watching it, you consciously can't see them.
Right.
Your subconscious can see it. Your subconscious works so fast,
Mm.
it can see these black bars going up and down. Yeah.
Mm.
And what that does, it lulls you into the alpha state.
Yes.
That you're being hypnotized.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
why people end up like this.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
it's like a
it.
flicker rate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
flicker rate. But that flicker rate is calculated so that it just gives you this kind of regular thing that you just zone into.
It's a
and
bit like being in the womb and listening to a heartbeat.
yeah, something like that. But
But in
you
a
know,
negative
in a
way,
negative
obviously. Not in a nice
and
way.
you become suggestible, and that's why advertising on television works so well, because you're, you know, literally anything anybody says to you on television, you're going to go, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either that, or they can just be pumping whatever information they want into you, and you just sit there and take it,
Yes,
don't you?
exactly.
Yeah, that's
But-
right.
This is why you have to be suspicious about when they converted to the digital signal,
Right.
because now you don't have the cathode ray tube with the lines going up. You've got a very much more sophisticated
Yeah.
system, and I have no idea how they're doing it,
Yes.
but you can bet they're doing it, and they're doing it much more efficiently. Yeah.
Well,
They don't give you anything for free.
No.
No.
So for them to say, oh, we're going to spend all this money to change over to a digital signal so you can get better picture quality.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not interested in you getting better picture quality.
They
want
don't care about us,
No,
do they?
they care about making us do what they want us to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's you know, I think more and more people are beginning to be suspicious about what is going on in the world. And if you speak to anybody, they go, oh yeah, news, it's really depressing, isn't it? Well, I don't know, it's because I don't watch the news now. I don't get that anymore, which is great, because I wake up happy, you know.
What are they gaining from watching it? Nothing,
it doesn't, there's nothing.
No.
There's nothing
at the
about
same
it.
time, you get the news anyway. Somehow you get it anyway, don't you?
Did you see that? Yeah, because if I go to work or anything, did you see the news? And people are coming in and I'm going, no, what happened? You know, and someone said to me, oh, don't you feel a bit ignorant if you don't listen to the news? And I said, well, actually, I feel ignorant if I do.
But the good thing about that is that you're not getting first-hand, program view. You're getting somebody's interpretation of it. So now you can go and go, okay, I'm not going to accept what that person's just told me because they're just repeating. So then you go out and look and research and you find out what's really going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than being told by a television.
Yes.
And have it, as we said about the subliminal way, way it works, having it go straight in and you accept it as true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's the best way, not know and get people to tell you.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? If you don't read the newspapers, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed, isn't it?
That's a good quote,
Yeah, that is true, isn't it? But so, well, it's been really interesting talking with you, Dave. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. What have you got lined up next?
Well, I'm actually on my way to California in about a week now. So I'm going there to help a few people. There's a person who's going to transition from living in a house to living in a camper van or a motorhome, and part of a community. So I'm going to be helping out on the community, showing them how to build geodesic domes.
Brilliant.
Well,
Brilliant.
and also you got a TV appearance this week as well.
Got a TV appearance on this morning.
Mention that.
That's going to be interesting one way or the other.
Yeah.
I know they've already asked me if I'm going to, if I'd be willing to drink urine live on TV. So I've got no worries about that.
No, that's right. Well, when we invited you on here, we did say bring your own drink, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think